Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new British Tier 9 Premium Heavy Tank, the FV4201 Chieftain Proto. Now this is a British heavy tank at Tier 9 that is a premium tank, and what's my initial thoughts on it? Well, initially I think it's a pretty decent tank. It's very similar to the SDR-VK that recently got buffed in of itself, in the way that it plays, and like, to be honest, exactly like the Chieftain, in the fact that go hull down, and this thing is a monster. Hull down, this turret is fantastic, like the Chieftain. Do have a cupola on top, which is fairly easy to pen if they hit it. But if you hull down, this turret is absolutely fantastic. Will bounce most of the shots that is fired at it, and it's absolutely beautiful. Your hull armour, pure trash. Now, the Chieftain's upper plate can ricochet shots because it's got auto ricochet angles. This, no, this hull is terrible, because it gets penned by anything that's like 150mm pen, something like that. You'll see that when we get to the armor viewer anyway. It gets penned really easily, and side scraping's a bit of a pain because it has cheeks that when you're poking out, side scraping are just shot traps, and even when you're trying to ricochet stuff off your side, they'll just catch shots here. The job of this tank is to go hull down, and it's very, very, very good at it. It's got a pretty damn nice gun, like most British heavies, and yeah, it's also got pretty damn good mobility. The way to think of this tank is like a Centurion. Not a heavy tank, more like a Centurion, more like a medium tank. Play this tank like a medium tank, get to those ridge lines where you can get hull down, pick the aggressive spots where you can use your mobility to get to, but don't go brawling with other heavy tanks where you're out in the open trying to side scrape them, etc, etc, because this hull will get wrecked, and you'll see that in one of the replays. This hull will get wrecked really easily, and it's not going to go down very, very well for you. But this gun is, like I say, very, very good, so you can keep consistently slapping people with it. And then, like I say, if you hull down, you're just going to farm for days, because they will struggle to pen you unless they hit this cupola, but you can do things to make sure that that cupola is not that easy to hit. But on the whole, I think it's a pretty decently balanced tank. If you have the SDR-VK, I think you're probably going to miss out a bit on this one, because they're very, very similar tanks, and especially after the buffs to the SDR-VK, they're probably about on par. The only thing that this thing does, well, the two things that this thing does better than the SDR-VK is it's a little bit more mobile, and the turret on this tank is far more durable than the turret on the SDR-VK. The SDR-VK tank turret, just tends to get penned all the time, whereas this thing doesn't. But that's enough about that. Let's go into the stats of the FV4201 Chieftain Proto. So, as you can see with the stats, we have 780 horsepower with a 50km/h top speed and a 16km/h reverse speed. You've got a 15.6 horsepower per ton ratio, which is pretty damn nice. You do hit 50km/h. Most of the time on flat, you'll probably stay at about 48 to 49, but if you're on any sort of slight decline, you will definitely hit 50km/h every single time. And if you wanted to, you could run the powertrain, and I've done both, and I think I've got both for the video later on. And basically, if you run the powertrain, you consistently hit 52 quite easily. And it will help you, obviously, with hills and stuff, because this power-to-weight ratio goes up to like 16.5 or 16.6. It's an extra horsepower per ton ratio, but which is pretty damn nice. And you'll consistently hit 52. But the thing is, if you run a traction system, you'll still hit 55, and you will hit 55 a lot of the time. But consistently, not really. But it's down to you how you want it to set up. But you can get to 55 kilometers an hour with the traction system. It's pretty much what I'm going to run on it most of the time, and that is really nice. That really helps the mobility of this tank. It really helps it to play more like a medium tank than a heavy tank, and the fact that it's got, you know, turret armour, that is lovely, because you can get to those ridge lines and get hull down and not be stuck at the back of the queue like a lot of other heavy tanks would be. You've got 1800 hit points, which is damn nice. It's a slab of hit points to use. You've got 27 degrees a second hull rotation speed, which is a little bit slow, which is, again, it'll be nice to use the traction system to get that better. You've got 2.3 on soft terrain, 1.3 on medium, and 1.1 on firm. Now, the terrain resistances for a heavy tank are actually pretty good, but I will still run off-road driving because I want to play it more like a medium tank than a heavy tank, so I'm doing everything I can to make sure it is hitting this top speed. You could go without off-road driving and put, like, the clutch braking on to make it so that the hull rotation is better again, even more so. Down to you personally. I just run the off-road driving just to make sure that I am consistently hitting that top speed and being able to be that manoeuvrable like a medium tank. In terms of camo, yeah, you got none because you're a heavy tank. That's something you should be expecting. 390 meters of view range, which is okay. And again, if you're running optics and situational awareness, born leader in that, you're going to have a very, very good view range. But it's not quite like the 400 that a fair few of the tanks are starting to push at tier 9. And then obviously at tier 10, obviously a lot of them have 400 plus. This 390 though is nothing to sniff at. You've got 30 degrees of turret rotation, which is decent, and it's actually faster than your hull, which is good, because that means your turret will actually go faster than your tracks. But if you run clutch braking or the traction system, that hull rotation will get faster than the turret, just something to bear in mind. But it's not slow by any means. 1.36 accuracy during rotation is okay, and you can knock that down with stuff like snapshot and stuff like that, and vertical stabilizers as well, if you wanted to. You've got 20 degrees of elevation, which is solid, 10 degrees of gun depression, which is very, very British heavy tank at this point, and it's a very, very good number to have. It means you're going to be incredibly flexible on a ridgeline. It will help you make the most of how good that turret armour is. Absolutely fantastic. You've got a 12-second rate of fire, as you can see, 12-second reload time, with a 5 rounds a minute rate of fire, 0.35 accuracy, 3.85 accuracy during movement is pretty damn awful, but you can knock that down with, again, the vert stabs and the run and gun perk and everything else, really. And the one thing that stands out on this tank is absolutely fantastic, 1.9 second aim time. Now, this is why I say that the tank is very much like the STRV-K that's with its recent buffs, because the STRV-K's aim time is 1.8 now, which is faster than this tank. Its accuracy is actually better, but it doesn't quite have the top speed of this tank, by only like 2 kilometers an hour, and it doesn't have the horsepower really either. And it actually fires quicker, and it's got better shell velocity, because the STRV-K has 1350 on its shell velocity on its standard now, and like 1500 on its premium. And like I say, it's like a 10.5 second reload now as well. So the STRV-K is a lot better in a fair few aspects than this tank, but like I say, in terms of going hull down, the turret is absolutely godly on this thing, and it's far better than the STRV-K, and this thing will get to positions just that little bit quicker, really. And to be honest, this gun, even though that 3.85 is quite bad, you can knock that down again with born leader and food and etc, etc. This gun doesn't really need vert stabs, because this aim time is absolutely fantastic, and to be honest, as long as you're firing when it's aimed, the gun is just fabulous, and it hits all the shots you're going to want. And yeah, that's something that goes with this tank, is the fact that I don't really run... I didn't really feel the need to run vert stabs. I ran them for a bit and then went, I want to go faster. So I took the vert stabs off, and hey, yeah, the gun was still fantastic even with the vert stabs. There's something about the STRV-K gun that, even though it's actually technically better than this tank, without the vertical stabilizers, it just feels trash. For me, personally. It misses all its shots for me, which is really annoying. It just likes the dirt. This tank doesn't quite have that, and that's really quite a nice thing for this vehicle, pretty much. And then in terms of, like I say, let's keep going. In terms of the penetration, you got 262 APCR pen with 310 premium pen and 120 pen HESH. Now the HESH on this tank is very, very good with 515 pen. That 120 is just like the Conqueror. Pretty damn nice for penning those tanks that are lightly armoured, will be pretty decent. And yeah, your penetration on the standard rounds and premium rounds are absolutely fantastic. You'll pen everything you're ever going to face with both those rounds, which is quite nice. And yeah, your shell velocity, what is annoying about this tank is kind of like the STRV-K was, especially when it first came out. The premium round is just flat out better. Just flat out better than the standard round. It's got 1350 meters of shell velocity with that 310 pen, which is far better than the 262 pen, and 1150 meters. This will really help you firing at range and firing at targets that are on the move and stuff like that, because you don't have to lead it quite as much to hit the target. I really do wish that they would actually switch this around, and that you switch to premium round so you get better pen, but if you want the better velocity, you'd stuck with the standard rounds, especially on tanks that have both the exact same round on the standard and the premium, right? That's just my little bugbear that's always the same. And in terms of the silver bonus, it doesn't make anything extra, because it is a tier 9 premium on console. On PC, this is one of the ones that does make more credits. So if you've seen the PC reviews and expected this thing to make more credits, no, it doesn't. This thing just is like a standard tier 9 tank, to be honest. It just does a little bit better at crew training than your average tier 9 tank. But yeah, they're the stats of the Chieftain Proto. What do I run in terms of equipment? Well, in terms of equipment, once we put food on, always food, because it gives you such a massive boost in terms of your stats. I run rammer, the traction system, and optics. Rammer to make my DPM as good as humanly possible. The traction system to get me up to that 55 kilometers an hour top speed. As you can see over here, we've gone up to 55 kilometers an hour. And optics to make sure that my view range gets as good as possible, which we're up to 447 without a crew. And in terms of a crew on this tank, I have actually stuck it in the Conqueror, so I may as well go to the Conqueror. We'll stick it into the Chieftain Proto like that. And yes, in terms of a crew on the Chieftain Proto, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanic, Off-Road Driving, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun. I run the 3 gun perks to make this gun as good as humanly possible, and that way, with these 3 perks, I don't have to run Vertical Stabilizers, really. These 3 perks make that life just better. Off-road driving, like I say, to make the ground resistances better, to make sure that I'm hitting that top speed of 55 kilometers an hour with my traction system. Track mechanic, because I want to get my tracks back on as quick as possible. I'm a heavy tank, but at tier 9, it can be a long time before you get... It can feel like a pain if you get tracked and you don't have traction system, because people... Sorry, not traction system, track mechanic. Because people will track you, and a lot of tanks, especially the tier 10s, will have the DPM to keep you perma-tracked if you don't have track mechanic, and that will basically mean you're dead. Especially if you put it around a corner a little bit too soon, and you've already burnt your repair kit, and they just track you and then just wreck you with their DPM. So I run that. And then these 4 perks are on everything in World War II for guaranteed. Like, pretty much this little corner here is always going to be run on every tank in this game, pretty much, because you want to make everything 10% better, you want to make everything better view range, everything better in general, you DPM 10% better, and always want to know when you're spotted. These ones are always sort of mandatory in World War II. So yeah, that's the crew skills and the equipment loadout for the Chieftain Proto. In terms of the armor, you can see here it's pretty damn nice on the turret. So what we're going to do is, because the armor is the same on PC as it is on console, we're going to switch to the armor viewer of Tanks GG, and as you can see here, this hull is not very good. So the lower plate is complete trash, 122 on flat, and against, okay, it's not quite 150, 190 pen to go through the upper plate, but at tier 9, pretty much everything has that penetration, and pretty much everything will butcher this upper plate. If you're shooting at it, shoot it around here so that you're not hitting these extreme angles on the upper plate. Do watch out for the midpoint, though, because the midpoint is 240mm, and that can bounce the odd shot here and there if you're not careful. Always aim for the lower plate, but you can also go straight through the upper plate in this section here, too. And as you can see, the cupola as well is 160mm effectiveness. If you're shooting straight at it, that cupola is a big weak point to hit. But if they're hull down and using all their gun depression, you can basically see the tiniest bit of it. But if they end up tilting their turret so that it's like this, so every time they fire, they tilt the turret back over here, you're never hitting that cupola. And this turret, like you can see, this turret is just formidable, because the upper plate will be an auto ricochet angle, and is 450 to... Yeah, look at that turret. Absolutely phenomenal, which is lovely to have on a tier 9 heavy tank. If you go hull down, this turret is going to bounce you so much. And, you know, even on flat, really, this turret is still going to bounce you everything. Look at that, how good this turret is. Absolutely fantastic turret. This is the asset of the tank. Go hull down and laugh at everybody, because that's what this tank wants to do. In terms of side scraping, like I say, you can side scrape, but like you've got to be careful, because this bit does stick around a corner, and this bit here will catch shots, and it's happened to me as well. You will catch shots on this spot. They do need about 220 to 230 to 240 pen to go through, probably about 250 to guarantee it. But again, at tier 9 and 10, a lot of tanks do have that penetration and will go through it. And if you look on this side as well, it's less likely that they'll catch you on the shot trap, and it's probably better to side scrape from this side. But yeah, it's still got the shot traps, and they can try and catch your cupola if you poke out a little bit too much, right? So yeah, the armor on this tank is really not that good on the hull, but the turret is the asset. And as you can see, the turret is absolutely fantastic, and it is a strength that you need to use for this tank. So let's have a look at the fully pimped out stats for the Chieftain Proto. As you can see, we've gone up to 55 kilometers an hour with the traction system. We're up to 17.6 kilometers an hour reverse speed. The hull rotation's at 29.7. Soft terrain is 1.74. Medium is 1.9 and 1.01 on the firm, which is really good ground resistances. You've got 499 meters view range, which is great, because you'll be devaluing a lot of people's camo really nicely. You've got 32.58 degrees a second on the turret rotation, which is pretty damn nice. And again, it still outdoes the hull rotation speed. In terms of the reload, you've got it down to 8.75 second reload, which you can knock down again with food. When you're boosting for 30 seconds, you'll get it down to about 8.5, I think it is, something like that. You've got a 0.28 accuracy, which is fine. 0.9 accuracy, by the way, during the rotation, which, again, if you run vert stabs, can be better, but you don't have to. I'll show you replays with the different gun handling, and you'll see the difference in the bloom between having vert stabs and not having vert stabs. The bloom is massive without vert stabs, and with it, not very much at all. But your aim time is fantastic, so that can make up for it a little bit. And yeah, 3.02 is not very good, but again, you can knock it down with vert stabs if you wanted to. 1.75 second aim time is absolutely fantastic. This gun is aimed in exceptionally quick, which is lovely. As you can see, you've got 2.7k DPM now as well. And yeah, on the whole, the stats for this tank are really, really damn nice if you set it up correctly. And it's just a pretty damn solid heavy tank. It's up there, you know, with the Conqueror, to be honest. I feel like it does the job of a Conqueror, but it can get to the positions that the Conqueror wants to a little bit better. The thing is, the Conqueror actually is slower than the Chieftain Proto, but naturally the upper plate of the Conqueror can actually bounce shots, whereas the Chieftain Proto, for the most part, won't. This is far more like the Centurion than playing style of a Conqueror, to be honest. And yeah, you want to be playing it far, far more like a medium tank. And just for sake of it, I'm going to show you just quickly what it's like with the vertical stabilizers in terms of that gun performance. You can see you've knocked it down from 3 to 2.2 and 0.72 on the accuracy during rotation. The gun handling, like I say, is far, far better with the vertical stabilizers, but to make this tank work, it doesn't really need it that much, and you can have that fantastic top speed that this tank can pull. But on the whole, yeah, I do like this tank, and this tank is actually cheaper than most other tier 9 premiums as well. I think it's 15.5k in total if it was full price, but it's 11k at the minute in the store, which again is far cheaper than most of the tier 9 premiums. Most of the tier 9 premiums are like 17,500 gold, so this is definitely cheaper. So if you were in the market to try and get a tier 9 premium, this is probably worth picking up for that price if you wanted to. It's totally down to you. It's always in the eye of the beholder whether something is worth it or not. But it's a pretty balanced tank. It does the job it needs to pretty damn well. And it has, obviously, weaknesses like the hull, pretty much. But I'm going to send you over to the replays, where you can make your own mind up. I've got a few games, one with vert stabs, one with well, most of them with the traction system, but one with vert stabs so you can see the difference in the gun bloom, sort of the two more average games I've had in the tank, and then sort of better games in it too. And my best game, naturally, is the last game. But yeah, we'll show you in the replays how this tank handles, and you can make your mind up to decide whether I'm telling porcupines and say this tank looks absolutely terrible, or you can decide, oh, you know what, actually this tank does look alright. It's not a worldie of a tank, but it's pretty decent. So as always, everybody, I'll see you in the replays. So here we are on the replays with the first game that I actually played in this tank, and it's on Kasserine. And you can see it's a pretty damn nice matchmaking. This is probably one of the more average games I actually played in the tank as well, and that is that basically while we go hull down, we actually have a pretty nice time, and it's like, oh, this is great. As soon as we get pressured and we're sort of more out in the open and we have to face tanks that are on our flat, facing our hull armour, it basically doesn't go too well. And you'll see how this gun performs with vertical stabilizers, because this is one of the replays, or should I say, this is the replay with vertical stabilizers on the tank. And you'll see that without the traction system, without the powertrain, we're going to get to about 47, 48 kilometers an hour pretty easily. And if you're going downhill, we're getting it to 50. But you'll see with anyway, the vertical stabilizers, that's the whole point of this replay. Because I had the vertical stabilizers on for like 4 or 5 games, but then I just swapped it out and then went for the speed. And you'll see that the gun basically doesn't bloom out that much at all, really, with vertical stabilizers on. And you'll see the difference between this replay and the next one, where I've got the traction system on, and just how much that gun bloom is. So you see in here when we aimed in, it basically wasn't that big at all, and that will help you get the gun in on target far quicker, get engaging the enemy target far quicker too. And it will help you with these sorts of snapshots. You can see just how little I had to aim the shot in there to get that shot on the T-54. That's what the vertical stabilizers will do for you. But like I say, the gun doesn't really feel as much like it needs it, because I run the traction system, and this gun with the 1.75 second aim time does get aimed in super, super quickly. And I never feel like I'm waiting about too much to get the gun aimed in. It's not like I've got 2.3, 2.4 second aim time, where you do start to feel like you are waiting for that circle to just aim in, and then you fire, right? This gun is pretty much ready for most of the time. So this first game on Kasserine, we have come to this position here at D3, which is great for facing stuff like the T-54, where he is, and the Barask, but we've noticed there is a heavy tank behind us, and they have pushed very aggressively. This is WZ-1114, and a T-32, who has absolutely no problem penning us and damages our ammo rack. That is one thing, if you get shot through the upper plate, you tend to get ammo racked as well. That's something to be very wary of. But you can see the T-32 doesn't have any problem penning us. He's firing premium, but he doesn't have any problem penning us. And really, these guys in this position, they are very, very aggressive. But if someone like the heavy tank at B5 was to, like, come round at C5, these guys would be getting punished. Because it's a very aggressive position for 2.5 minutes into the game for them to have taken. But they're going to get away with it. And we are just trying to put the shots in. You can see we've been penned really easily in the hull. We start to try to side scrape a little bit to try and ricochet the shot here and there. And we're just looking for shots into this T-32 and this WZ-111. The Bellerophon takes a hit, so I think, you know what, I'm going to try and get a shot into the WZ-111-14, but we end up having shaky aim and completely miss that shot. He drives around the corner, this 111-14, and just slaps the shell straight into our upper plate again, but we shut him down. But we're now in a perilous position. We've basically got no HP. The T-32, I'm just watching and waiting, because the moment he fires is the moment I'm going to go after him. He ends up firing at this Bellerophon in front of me, and I'll go, right, perfect. We're going to get in, shoot him straight through the track him and pen him, puts us on to 3k damage, and we realise, oh, T-29 manages to shut us down. And unfortunately, that was the end of our game with 3k damage and a kill. Again, probably one of the more average games that I've had in the tank, same as this one is. In a tier 10 game, and yeah, we ended up with 3k. I didn't save the end screen because at that point I went, oh, I'm dead, and then went and started to play the Bradley instead, which I will have a video coming up either tomorrow or Thursday, one of the 2 days. And yeah, so that was that. The second replay, this one we are using the traction system, and we are on Siegfried line, and like I say, you can see with the gun bloom, the gun is basically, the aim circle is getting far, far bigger without the vertical stabilizer. As you can see, you can just see it even without aiming, just how big that bloom is. Now, like I say, the aim time is really nice, so that helps you get past that, to be honest. If it had longer aim time, that would be horrible, but you can get past it, which is alright. And with the traction system, you're going at 55 kilometers an hour, which is great and really helps you be a medium tank as opposed to a heavy tank. This is definitely a heavium, and you play it like a medium tank as opposed to a heavy tank. If you play it like a proper heavy tank going brawling with all the other heavies, it's not going to go very well very quickly. And you'll probably die, which won't be good for you. But you can see we pushed aggressively here on Siegfried line. And we've got to this position here at F5, because we can go hull down, we can try and spot the guys that sit along the AB line, and we're not really spotting anything, there's just this poor little tusk. And it's like, well, okay then, you know, we'll get the shots in. As you can see, the gun does aim in really, really quickly, because that aim time is absolutely lovely. And we're just going to start trying to put shots into this tusk. He's a 3-mark tusk, but he's not had any backup whatsoever, which means he's just going to get absolutely screwed over, and he's gone. And there doesn't feel like there's anyone else here along this 5 line or in this whole field in general, so I'm like, you know what, actually I'm going to poke over and see if I can get some shots down the middle of Siegfried line or where this T-58 Heavy is. So we get a nice shot into the side of the T-58 Heavy. We're trying to angle for shots at our guys on the 1 line, and you know what, there's a Kramvarn in the middle. He's pressuring our 2 guys in the middle, so you know what, let's get a shot into the back of his turret, because I can poke up, get a shot in, and it's like, oh god, that's an E3, get me back, please, driving. Oh, thank god, that's an E3 firing premium that bounced off of our turret front, by the way. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I decided that I wanted to get a shot into the back of that Kramvarn, because that Kramvarn was pressuring our guys at F9, and by getting a shot into him, it makes him turn around and stop shooting at them. And the moment he starts to become distracted with me is the moment that our guys can move in and kill him, which is why we're doing it. The E3's backed off, so it's again, okay, I can get a shot into the back of this Kramvarn, make him think twice. And in fact, as you can see, shooting this Kramvarn in the back has basically made him go, oh no, I'm being shot. And he's ran straight in front of my team, which is going to end up getting him killed. And as you can see, he's ended up being black by an AVRE. But just doing that, that's secured as that top end. You've just got to be aware of those little things like that. And we're up to 1,500 damage with 1,000 assistance. We've got some shots into the back of this FV4201B. I had the premium loaded so that I could go through the T110E3 because with my 261 pen, it was going to be a bit of a struggle through the front of that thing, whereas if I'm firing the premium rounds, not so much. Unfortunately, the gun derps a little bit there as we go for the shot into the side of the 215B, but it is what it is. We're just going to try and angle for a shot now into this 780. We get a shot into his tracks, which doesn't pen him, only tracks him, sad times, but we're going to drive around now and just get another shot into his side. We're going to confirm that we get a shot into his side, whether we take a hit or not, but he doesn't actually bother with me, which is really nice of him, right? How friendly. And he ends up getting shut down. Now there's the E100. We load the premium so that we can guaranteed go through the E100 without having an awkward ricochet, because it is APDS, which acts as APCR, where angles, lower plates of E100s and E75s seem to randomly ricochet shells on your standard rounds, so it's one thing to try and make sure. Just because of normalization, that's why, really, 2 degrees normalization. And it just, yeah, means that the round has more chance of ricocheting, which can be a little bit frustrating. So as you can see, we're loading Hesh, 8.1 second reload, by the way, the food boost, really good. We load the Hesh because we can slap that shell in for 553 into the back chat 155.55. Just aiming up, hoping we can get the kill on this T92 before the game's over. And thankfully, we do get that shell in. We'll finish the game with a really decent total in a tier 10 game. We're finished with the epic victory, 2 kills, 2.9k damage, 1,000 assistance. The second class, Sniper Medal and Confederate. And, yeah, 1,416 base XP. A pretty decent game for the Chieftain Proto in a tier 10 game. So, I'd say probably, one of the more average games I've had in the vehicle, because you can just go steady Eddie with it, where you can get hull down. As you can see with Siegfried Line, it is a flat map, but we did find a position where we could go hull down, use our really good turret armor, we bounced an E3, we put pressure in where we needed to, and because of the speed of the tank, we didn't get caught out in terms of being too slow. So now we're on to the third replay, and the third replay we're against tier 10s again, and we're again going to show the strengths of how good this turret is and how you want to be hull down. It's very, very Centurion-like. The hull is not very good. You can bounce more on the hull than you can in a Centurion, and you could probably ricochet because of angling more than a Centurion, but it's still going to get penned exceptionally easily at tier 9 and tier 10. The turret is the thing that you want to use, and that means you can go to a position, go hull down, and then just work them over with this gun, because this gun is pretty damn nice. It does feel pretty good to use. And like I say, weirdly, because the tank that is, in terms of the premium aspect, the tank that is very, very similar to it in terms of the premium aspect is the STR-VK, which has received a fair few buffs, which brings it very much in line with how this tank is in terms of statistics, and actually slightly better in, like I say, in some ways than others. And this is why I say, if you have the STR-VK, because even though it is like 11,200 at this point in time, and say for future reference, it'd be like, I think it's 15.5 it says on the store, still a hell of a lot of gold for a tank that doesn't make you any silver. And in fact, actually, this tank, for some reason, I don't really make much silver at all. And in fact, I keep being on the edge of losing silver, even when I'm having decent games, which is really weird, because most of my other tier 9s, I don't have that problem whatsoever. I'm making like 30, 40,000 silver. This tank, no, it doesn't seem to be that way. But I digress. In terms of gold, and if you already have the STR-VK, yeah, you're not going to be wanting to shell out all that much money for a tank that isn't as good as the crew trainer, doesn't make as much silver, and if you already have the STR-VK, is what I'm trying to say, is you've got a tank that's pretty much the same as this tank, so you're best to just save your money and buy a Cold War premium for making a hell of a lot of money, or buying another premium tank at tier 8, which is a very good tank to play, right? Like buying a Sergeant Slaughter, for example. It's just down to you in terms of what you deem worthy of the cost, right? Which is always, again, I always say it's always in the eye of the beholder whether something's worth it or not. But in terms of what it does, it's very, very good. And the only, like I said, the difference between this and the STR-VK is that in a position like this, the STR-VK is way worse than the Chieftain Proto, because while that guy tracked me, because clearly I came over the ridgeline too much, the STR-VK, say against that E3, for example, the E3 would have just butchered the STR-VK's turret and gone straight through it, firing that premium. But on this tank, it bounced it, because the turret is absolutely fantastic. And that is the strength over the STR-VK. Whereas the gun probably is the thing that, while it doesn't have quite the turret armor on the STR-VK that this thing has, the gun is technically, statistically better, although I think that's probably down to personal preference or personal experience, right? Because for me, this gun so far, no, in the first 20-odd games I've played in it, just performs way better than the STR-VK gun has done for me, even after the buffs. But that's just personal experience probably telling the tale on that. So as you can see in this replay anyway on Westfield, we've got to this position here at C4 and we're starting to work them over with this gun. We're up to 2.9k damage now. We've got the premium in so we can guarantee going through this E100's turret because it's likely that he's going to have it at some weird ass angles and I want to make sure that I'm going through that guy's turret as effectively as I can, get rid of him and we can advance this game. We're up to 3.3k damage. Just looking for another shell into the side of that guy's turret. 439. There we go. Very, very nice roll. As opposed to the last couple that were really quite low. And he's now sort of in a weird position, awkwardly behind this Jagdpanzer. We're just trying to angle for a shot into the side of his turret. We get it in, and he's gone. We'll switch back to the standard rounds because we don't need them. Well, we don't need the premium rounds anymore. The IS-7 is poking up on top of this ridge. Just look for see if we can get a shot at him, but we don't need it. We get a shot into the SU-122-54. As you can see, we've got the traction system, not vert stabs. And this gun, even without the vert stabs, is still absolutely fantastic. Doesn't really need them, but again, if you want to maximize that gun, the vertical stabilizers are an absolute must. Realistically, if you wanted to maximize the DPM on this tank and make it even better and just everything else about the tank, you could probably run vents, but it's down to you. I prefer having the top speed that this thing can get with the traction system, and it can be pretty nice again for helping it in that sort of medium tanky playstyle that I tend to run it with. So as you can see, we pull into this position here at F6 because I try and get to a position where I can shoot across the gap. And we end up spotting this Waffle E100. And that spot on that Waffle E100 just netted us so much assistance. We end up getting his whole health pretty much in assistance. And we'll take that. We're up to 4.9k damage, 2.2k assist. There's 3 tanks left. The guy at J0. This heavy tank, the IS-7 down here, who we are pulling into a position to try and get a shot at, which that IS-7 is angled so awkwardly for us, we're not going to pen it with our standard, so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to track it, get a bit more assistance, and he gets shut down by the Conqueror. Just because of the way that the angles were with that IS-7, I was never getting that shot in to pen it, so I just decided to go for the tracking and assistance. Now we're going for the last guy on the enemy team alive. It is this Centurion AVRE, who is behind this hill here at G0, but we're going uphill, so there's no chance of getting anywhere near it. We'll finish the game with a really nice total in the tier 10 game with the epic victory, 2 kills, 4.9k damage, 2.4k assistance. The sniper, the first class, 1825 base XP. A really nice game in the Chieftain Proto. Again, that game showed off what this tank is capable of when it gets to a ridgeline. It's pretty solid. Its gun is consistent. Its turret is fantastic. And you can just have a pretty damn nice time with it. And, you know, as you saw with the first 2 replays, in terms of the hull armor is not very good. And sometimes the game can be a little bit too quick for you. So, you know, they're far more average games. And really, the first game was epitomised what happens when you don't manage to get a ridgeline in front of you. And the enemy tanks can basically keep putting shots into your hull. They'll just absolutely butcher the hull. And because a lot of tanks might have better reloads than you generally, because it's still 8.8 is great, but it still feels a little bit slow. It's especially thinking about this tank being a tier 9, right? Because tier 9s tend to see tier 10 all the time, and so tier 10s will fire probably 2 seconds faster than you for the same alpha, and that means that they will just butcher your hull consistently because their guns will be probably slightly better too, and they'll just consistently keep putting shots into you, which will be really fairly awkward. But, you know, those first 3 replays really show what this tank can do and how it wants to be. This last replay is, as always in these reviews, I show you the best replay or the best game I've had in this tank so far. In the first 22 games, I think it is, I've played in this tank. And we're on Steppes, a map that I really like. It's Encounter, so what I decided to do is, because I'm a medium tank, I decided to come to the Encounter cap. Because if I'm in a medium tank, I'm more likely to come to the cap than I am in a heavy tank. In a heavy tank, I'm more likely to brawl at F2. But I've come to this position here so that I can get hull down on these ridges, try and stop anyone that tries to cap, and just, you know, get this gun working. So there was a T41E1 in the cap, and I was expecting to spot him as he came over these ridge lines. But I never do. He managed to sneakily run off. But this FV4201 is caught out in the open. He ends up ricocheting off me. Thankfully, I pop a shot straight through his side there. As you can see, even though we'd been moving, the gun aims in really, really quickly. We now pull into a position where we're hull down, and we shut down that tier 7 heavy tank. This matchmaking, by the way, is pretty damn nice for this tank, which is always great. and that will help me with having a pretty nice game, right? And you can see we're starting to get shots fly at us, and they're ricocheting. It's not very much alpha at all, though, so that is that Bulldog. It is the T41E1, and I decide, okay, you know what? I'm not going to use the 0 line. I'm going to push straight to the position here at G8, because this position here, I can go hull down against people like this IS-6. I can go hull down against the guys along that K line, and I can start pumping the shots in and stay hull down. And I'm not overexposing myself too much. I'm a bit of a target for artillery here, especially from the encounter spawns for them. As you can see, artillery starts pumping shots in. But we're going to start getting some shots into this AMX 1375, who's made mistakes. Because his penetration, and he is, with how stubby that gun is on that tank, he is stock too, which means he's got the tier 6 gun, which means he's basically not going to pen me. He made mistakes coming in there. We put him down to a one-shot. Then artillery rains in the shell again. Sad times. We're up to 2.7k damage with 749 assistance. We know the tank that was at K9 is now gone. So I decide, you know what, okay, if he's gone, I want to move in to this ridge line and get hull down below this Progetto 66. But we spot the ISU 152K, which we get a very nice shot into. And I'm just sticking behind this rock a little bit, waiting for my reload and trying not to get shot by the artillery, pretty much. We get a nice shot into the side of the 66, who is really not paying attention to us. We're at 3.5k damage, and I decide, yeah, okay, I'm moving up. I'm moving into position to get some shots into this guy. We get a shot into his tracks, which tracks him in place. And I was thinking at this point, I'm kind of hull down. He's not going to be able to quite get a shot into me. The artillery hits me and tracks me and damages my ammo rack. We repair. And unfortunately, the Progetto 66 does get a shot into us. We end up ricocheting off his upper plate, though, which is really awkward. And I am now targeted by artillery. Thankfully, our artillery shuts down the 66. We go poke over to see if we can get a shot into the Astron Rex. Thankfully, their artillery misses us. We're up to 4k damage, and I'm going to move into the next dip. I'm going to move into the next dip, and we hit that shell on the move, by the way, no vertical stabilizers. We move into the next dip, because in this dip, where the artillery is at K5, it's far, far harder for him to hit me in this position. So I want to get here so I can stay safe from the artillery, because one hit from the artillery is probably going to kill me. And we're also in a good position to get shots into the back end of this Object 430 version 2, who we're trying to keep our pressure on as much as humanly possible, so that, again, our team can win that flank and move on. We get another shot into the back end of him, which puts him down to a one-shot, and because we're shooting him in the back, it's forced him to decide, you know what, I can't stay here. He's just run headlong straight into my ally and got shot down. We're up to 5.1k damage. We know where 2 of the TDs are. And in fact, we know where the heavy tank is. They're all in that corner at H1. So we're going to try and move into a position to get a shot into this artillery that's been pegging us all game. And yeah, we just want to try and get rid of him. But he's actually charging towards the light tank, who I decide, you know what, especially with the artillery just hitting him, it's probably a one-shot for that light tank, or a two-shot at least for him. I'm just going to leave him now to that light tank and move on to try and keep maximising my damage in this game. We get a shot into the side of this ISU 152K, get ourselves into a position where he's only going to see our turret as we come over to get a shot into him, and we shut him down because he had nowhere really to pen us. The Emil 1951 is distracted with the tank destroyer behind him. We know the T95 is distracted with the tanks in front of him too, so we load premium so that we're not going to get an awkward bounce on this T95, and this way we're going to be able to try and track and pen this guy. So we go for the tracks, the rear drive wheel there to track and pen him, which we do. Pins him in place. I'm hoping that any more shots going into this guy will be assistance, but unfortunately, well, actually we do end up getting assistance there. We try and retrack, but it doesn't quite happen. Someone else does, and he ends up getting shot down. But we finished the game with a really, really nice total for the FV4201 Chieftain Proto. Finished with the victory. 2 kills, 6.5k damage, 2.2k assistance, ace tanker, sniper, high caliber, Confederate, steel wall, 1985 base XP. A great game for the Chieftain Proto, the best one I've had so far. And like I say, it's a pretty damn solid heavy tank at tier 9. It does hull down really, really well. If it's caught out in the open, it doesn't go very well at all for it. DPM's okay. The gun handling is pretty nice. On the whole, it's just a pretty balanced tank and it's pretty okay. Down to you whether you think it's worth it or not. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success.